All right. Craig, thank you very much for chance to talk with you about your career. And I would like to start with the period before the NBA, because during the time 1978, 1982, you played in Long Beach State College, and your coach was Tex Winter. And
Absolutely.
did your team base on the triangle offense at the time?
Absolutely, man. And first of all, like I said, I want to thank God for giving me a chance to speak with you guys, and hopefully everybody that's watching and listening as well, and your families are well. And, I was blessed, man. Tex Winter recruited me when I was 16 years old for Northwestern University. Got the job at Long Beach State, actually like March of my senior year. And he came back and told me he wanted me to go to Long Beach with him. And for me, I always wanted to go to California and get away from the Chicago winters, man, all this snow and all of that. So for me, it was one of those things to get a chance to go to school. And when I got to Long Beach State, not knowing that Black studies and African American history was going to be my forte, man. So I was just going to play basketball and major in political science. And when I got there, I had a chance to find out that Long Beach State had the best African American history department in the country. So I was blessed to have great student athletes, being blessed to be as a student athlete to have great mentors in the classroom, and then to be able to go and play a game that I've loved since I was a baby under probably the best mind on the planet, and as far as offense is concerned, Tex Winter. And Tex, Lord rest his soul, he was more than just a basketball coach, man. He was a fair man, and the things that I learned from him just based upon how to give out information, how to teach, how to coach it, how to get the most out of your players. And the stuff that we learned at Long Beach under the triangle for 4 years compared to winning 11 championships. And you think they won? Phil Jackson has won 11 championships with the help of Tex Winter under a system and he's only using a third of the system. He hasn't touched any part of it for full court pressure and pressure in the backcourt or anything like that.
And what kind of coach he was? Because I've got these memories with Tex Winter that he looks like a really calm man. I would say
Yeah,
the ideal calm man. So
yeah.
how was his coaching staff?
It was almost like it was almost like your granddad was your coach. You
Hmm.
know what I'm saying, man? Where he was it was never really heavy handed. He would always put it in a manner where you would appreciate the critique. You would appreciate the jab at you. Like one of his favorite sayings is that if you made a mistake, he would tell you, "What are you thinking about right there? Whatever you're thinking about, I want to be able to tell the next player that does it what he was thinking about at that time and never to do it again." you know?
Good.
So, so it'll be jabs like that that will let you know how to get in line. And one of the first things he told us was all of my freshman year, the first day of practice, he told us everything that you've ever learned about basketball, forget about it, because the way we're going to play basketball is going to be the proper way. And remember, I have forgotten more basketball than you will ever know. So it's stuff like that. Tex was the man.
So after 4 years with Tex Winter and with Long Beach State College basketball team, you were selected in the third round by San Diego Clippers. And did you expect it to become an NBA player?
Well, it's one of those things where you have a dream, and my dream was to play sports at a young age. Baseball and tennis was my initial sports that I was more competitive at. But basketball was something that between probably 12 and 13, I became more efficient at. And it was more fun because baseball is so boring at times and basketball is constantly interactive. And, I'm a social person. I like to talk. So it has that social presence in it also. So for me, I wanted to play professionally. You never know when you're going to get a chance to, but probably after my junior year, I felt that I was in I'm not going to say elite category, but I know I was comparable. to all the players who would get drafted. So, and I had a great coach. And Tex told me where I ranked in as far as the players were concerned. And when it came time for, in 1982, that was the first pre-draft camp. And I was part of that class. And I was an alternate for the pre-draft. And I'm from Chicago. So at the end of my senior year after graduation, I came home. And Tex told me, being an alternate, if anyone didn't show up, me being in Chicago, they would bring me in first. So I waited that morning when they had the pre-draft camp started. So about 12 o'clock, I get a phone call from Tex telling me a player hadn't showed up. And before, as soon as he told me that, he said, yeah, you need to get to the Hyatt Regency. And I'm 35 minutes from the Hyatt Regency. I probably got there in 20 minutes, man. And he was like, how did you get this quick? I'm like, Coach, you told me never miss an opportunity. So when you told me to get here, I got here as quick as possible. And, you know, I had a great pre-draft camp. You know, my name wasn't on any of the lists. So when I came in and started playing, I'm knocking down jump shots and who is that? I don't have him on the list. Who is that kid? And I was like, keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that. So after the third day, man, my draft stock rose. So I went from probably being, and during that period of time in 1982, we had 10 rounds. And the first 2 rounds came on ESPN. Me and my family is sitting there. I'm in the background. I'm in the kitchen because I don't know what's going to happen and I don't want them to be disappointed. So the first 2 rounds go off. I don't get drafted. And you can just feel like you know, so I'm out in the backyard with my basketball dribbling, you know, and
Not this year.
and the phone rings 5 minutes later, and it's the you know, it's Paul Silas, who's the coach of the San Diego Clippers, and he tells me that they drafted me the 48th pick, and my family went crazy. You know what I'm saying? The house erupted, man, and that's the part for me that has been a blessing, man, is that to be able to share with your family and friends the little bit of success that you have at a given point in time, knowing that you may travel places and they will never get to go there. So, but you have the memories and you'll be able to share as much as you can. So, you know, getting drafted was not only a dream and a blessing for me, but for my family, man, especially my granddad, who it was a dream. It was his dream for his sons to play professionally. Both my uncles had opportunities, and unfortunate incidents happened. My one uncle broke his arm. My other uncle loved women, so he was on his thing. You know what I'm saying? So I was the culmination of a lot of work that was put into me being what I became, and as far as an athlete and a social activist.
Okay, so your grandfather had a dream, and this dream comes true in 1982.
Came true in 1982, man, and then when we won our first championship, for me to be able to sit next to him and put my arm around him, and for him to be able to say, "Man, boy, you made it." That's one of the things that, you know, you never forget, and that's why I say, man, for me, my blessing has been in my support system, my primary being my family, and then my friends and extended friends like yourself now.
Mm-hmm. Before championship, you played in San Diego Clippers and Milwaukee Bucks. How do you remember those first 2 seasons with San Diego Clippers? You played with 2 other guys selected in 1982 draft, Terry Cummings and Tom Chambers. How important it was for you?
Well, for me, it was one of those things. Like I said, it was a great learning experience. We had great veterans. We had, you know, great coach in Paul Silas. We had Bill Walton, Randy Smith, Norm Nixon. We had some great players, man, that taught me how to be a professional, you know. And Terry Cummings, we both grew up in the Chicago area. He went to DePaul. For us to get drafted together was a blessing for both of us, because we could work through a year together, leaning on each other, you know, knowing that some things we don't know how to go about. Terry was an upper echelon. He was a number 1 or 2 pick and that kind of thing. So he was on a whole nother level, but I had played more games on a collegiate level. So it was some things that I brought from a maturity level that I lent to him. And, you know, me being a guard, him being a power forward, he would get the rebound, I'll let it to me, and I just tell him to run the court, and I'm gonna get the ball back to you because you're my main man, you know. So it was a it was a great relationship that I built over time and Terry and I are still cool.
Mm-hmm. And I would like to ask you about how is it to be traded to some club? Because for us fans, it looks like only a news without emotions, without different feelings. And
No doubt
which
about it,
trade
man.
was more unexpected for you? To Bucks, to Suns, or maybe to Bulls?
The one to the Suns, that
Mm-hmm.
was crazy because I had went into talk to the general manager less than 3 weeks earlier, and I was about to close on my house. So I had asked him, was I going to be traded? And now knowing how the league works, that's the death knell. When you ask them, are you going to be traded, and they say no, you're going to be traded. So me and my family, we're at the arena where we play at. They were having a circus there at the time. So I take my sons to the circus, and we get back from the circus. It's about right at the news release time, like 10 o'clock. We walk in the house, turn the TV on. The Bucks have made a trade. And I look at my wife, hey, baby, I wonder who we traded. and the phone rings, and it's me. So I'm like, okay, man, I already know. So that was probably the most unexpected. But the best trade for me was when I was called into the office by Jerry Colangelo in Phoenix, who grew up in Chicago Heights with my family. So
Mm-hmm.
it was Jerry calls me in and he's messing with my head. Yeah, Craig, there's some people, they want you, they want to trade for you. But I don't think you would like to go there. I don't. And I'm like, what's the trade, Jerry? Well, Chicago wants you to come to Chicago. I'm like, Jerry, come on, man. Let me go to the crib. He's like, yeah, I know. I already made the deal. Go ahead and have a good time. And I know you'll enjoy home. And I was a 6-year veteran at the time. So it wasn't a thing of me being overwhelmed by the situation or Michael Jordan. It was just coming in and doing what I did over the last 6 years to become a veteran.
Mm-hmm. And with Chicago Bulls, you won 2 championships, as I mentioned. Let's call it the first dance, right? The first three.
The original dance.
The original dance is even better. Which is
Man.
better for you, against Lakers or against Trailblazers?
And I think they both hold a serious place for you because they're all different and no two are the same. I think the second one being at home, it was more memorable from a standpoint. What's up, kitty cat? Um, uh, that one was more memorable because our families and friends were here to share with us as opposed to us having to take 24 hours and all the anticipation and energy after the win. So we were able to celebrate in the city, which is great, man. And I was able to go to a midnight basketball league right after the game and take T-shirts and hats and to see the faces on the young brothers and sisters when you walk in the gym and they loving that we didn't just won, but they're never expecting to see one of the Bulls walk into the gym and give out T-shirts and hats and shoot some jumpers with them. So it was a great time, man, and it's something that I'll never forget. And I just thank the city of Chicago for not only affording us the opportunity, but supporting us throughout.
Mhm. And how looks cooperation with Michael Jordan? Because in the documentary The Last Dance, we focus mostly on the second tribute team. And
Right.
how looks cooperation with Michael in the early 90s? Because we know him that he was tough, he got the aim, and he expected tremendous effort from the other teammates. How do you remember and you remember him as a teammate?
Oh man, and once again, all of this documentary stuff is in retrospect.
Mhm.
It's the reality. I tell people you have the reality, and then you and I are in the reality of what we're doing right now. When we hang up from this call, you're gonna leave with your truth. I'm gonna leave with my truth, and we're gonna tell. I'm gonna be like, man, I just had this cool podcast with this brother, and you're gonna tell your family, or you're gonna go feed your cat, or whatever, or whatever, you know. But we're gonna come away with truth. So I tell people, all of us who were teammates with Michael, all of us who won the championship, I was part of the first two, and those who went on to win the next one, we all understood not just the public demeanor of Michael, but we also understood within the private confines of our practices and everything else, we understood that the head man was Phil Jackson. It was never a thing where, you know, Michael would maybe go hard on people, but if he got too hard, Phil would pull his string and tell, yo, Michael, back up off of that. You know what I'm saying? Michael, add more to the group, be a bigger group leader. You know, he would throw darts at him to let him know that, you know, this is not about any personalities. It's about us winning the championship. So a lot of what I've seen in the documentary is great entertainment, man. And it has great entertainment value. It gives some behind the scenes, but it misses on the personal part of a team that unifies it. The personal parts of the team that, you know, for instance, the fact that the year that you were out and gone and you showed Scotty with his not standing up to shoot in that, you wasn't even on that team. So why was it in the documentary other than to tear Scotty down? You know what I'm saying? So it's certain things that you have to do with your position. I feel that much to whom much is given, much is required. And as people follow your lead and they look at how you lead, are you leading in a manner that's going to unify people, or is it about dollars? And if it's about dollars, it's not going to be unified.
And have you seen The Last Dance as a documentary series?
Every single episode, man. And the crazy part about it is I didn't even know it was coming out, man. And when it got ready to come out, I'm like, my son tells me, yeah, MJ's documentary is coming out. I'm like, what documentary? The Last Dance. And I'm like, why is it called The Last Dance? I'm just tripping, me being into words and searching for, you know, hidden meanings or whatever. And I was like, oh, that's cool. So I watched it. And then when I saw how meticulous they were to make sure leave as little of Hodge in there as possible, but you can't miss me in the scenery of it all. But a lot of my teammates he interviewed. And then I was interviewed and someone told me that he interviewed 106 people for this. And I'm like, cool, I'm glad I didn't get interviewed, man. I'm good. I'm good.
Because I have heard that you've got complain a little about the way how the teammates were, Michael Jordan teammates were presented. Also read Horace Grant's statement, and also that Scottie Pippen wasn't happy about how he was presented. So for me, you know, I'm a fan, and I remember those moments because the middle of '90s was the time when I start interesting in basketball. So for me, it was some kind of sentimental trip, and also, you know, it was time when I was in the secondary school, and I would say that I was stubborn, contrary-led. So every time Chicago Bulls were in the finals, I was against them. So I want Seattle Supersonics to win the first championship, then twice Utah Jazz. And now for me, after a couple of years, when I saw the Michael Jordan as a really great player, think it from the fan perspective, but still it's really good to know what was inside. So
exactly, man. And that's the part that I would tell people, that when you watch an NBA game, you're looking at the final product. You're not looking at the fundamental foundational pieces that are put together so that you can see this final product called sports entertainment. So from that standpoint, the pristine part of the game, the training part of it, the film sessions, the bus rides, the planes, and all of that is the inner workings of the game. And I feel like that's the engine, you know, and everybody sees the beautiful outside of the Lamborghini, you know what I'm saying? You're not seeing what really, you know, what's the fuel that's put in it? What's the fuel that drives it? What's the whole purpose behind it? And, you know, when we crystallize that focus into one word, and that word was ring, we start to get rings. And I think that's a testimony to Phil Jackson and Tex Winter, Johnny Bach, Jim Clemens, Frank Hamblin, you know, all of the great coaching staffs that he's assembled, where players had no choice but to respect it. When you're talking about the coaching staff in Chicago that we had when we won our first championship, besides Phil Jackson, the coaching staff had more than 100 years. of NBA service. 100 years of NBA service. You think about that. You got 4 guys on the staff that's got 25 years plus on the coaching in the NBA.
Huge
Who the
experience.
hell who the hell am I or Scottie Pippen or MJ or anybody else gonna question whatever game plan they put in front of us? And then based on that game plan, what type of training we're gonna have day to day. Nobody's gonna question that. So when I look at the way MJ has been portrayed as a hard driving force, no man, we had that before MJ even came on the court. When we was out there working on whoever was out there pre-practice working, we was already under the whip. We didn't need you to do that. You know? And that's one of the things too that I think is somewhat minimized in him being this forceful. I got to get you going. Is you taking away from athletes who are driven athletes already, who are self-driven, wouldn't have been on the court with you if it wasn't some type of shit. Michael Jordan wasn't waking me up at 5 a.m. to run my 5 miles. You know what I'm saying? And that's the part. Excuse me. That's the part where, you know, everybody is looking at him being the most the most driven athlete ever. May have been, but don't minimize what other professionals have done on the same manner without the athleticism, without the athletic gift that Michael has been given.
And did you have some private competition with Michael Jordan, for example, ping pong, playing cards, or everything? Because he was a great competitor.
Oh yeah, and see, like with me, I never, and I'm a golfer, and I've never. Michael invited me to play golf one time, and I had some stuff to do with my children, so I didn't get a chance to go, and I've never golfed with him. But you know, as far as the only competitions we would have would be in practice, shooting games and that kind of thing. And really, what I should lose is a shooting game. So you know, I look at when he entered the 3-point contest to try to win it. That was my first time winning it. And I think the motivation of him actually getting into the competition actually made me focus that much more because it took my mind off of beating Larry Bird. It put me in a place where I can't let this brother beat me. You know what I'm saying? He's my teammate, and I know how much hell I'm gonna catch the rest of the time I'm his teammate. Man, Hodge, I kicked your ass in the 3-point contest. No, I can't let that happen. So when we was in the competition with me, he and I shot against each other that very first round. So in the midst of it, you know, you hear stuff, and most of the time when I'm shooting in the competition, I don't hear anything. I hear the ball going through the net. But knowing that MJ was down on the other end, I was gauging how we were going at it by the crowd. So in the midst of it, I know I'm shooting the ball decent, okay? But I'm hearing the crowd go crazy, and I'm like, oh, MJ is shooting me out down there, right? So I shoot my last ball, and the buzzer rings, and I look up, and I'm like, 24-9, and I'm like, man, I shot his ass out, you know? So it was funny, but it was just another, I tell young people about confidence, and that through challenges, supreme confidence is gained in whatever it is you may be doing. You know, it may be a spelling test of words you may have never been able to get right, but this day you got it right, and it proved to you that you're capable of doing it. And that day proved to me that I was capable of being the best shooter on the planet Earth, bar none.
And after season 91-92, you were waived from Chicago Bulls, and you couldn't fight for the third straight NBA title. And what did happen?
Well, after we won in 1991, we went to the White House to visit President Bush. I wrote a letter to President Bush concerning the issues of poor people, disenfranchised people who have not had the support. And could you consider our issues the same way you consider issues of foreign policy? And basically, after the 92 season, I was basically blacklisted from the NBA. I was 32 years of age. I had 2 consecutive championships, 3 consecutive 3-point titles at the time. And it was one of those things where our union told me I needed to find an agent that a team owed a favor. And I'm like, what did I do was wrong? You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was one of those things, like I said, it was a challenge in life, one of those life lessons that you learn. And for me, what got me through that period of my life when I couldn't hoop anymore, I came over to Italy and I played like 4 or 5 months. But knowing where my skill level was, I wanted to play in the league. So I came back home and my mindset became one that it was about raising my sons who were going in their teen years. And from probably 94 through 97, 98, I was strictly making sure they had the fundamental principles that they needed to be great student athletes. And, both of them graduated from college, God bless them, and we're working together. So a lot of the stuff that we're putting together from a media-wise, that's my son setting it up. So it's a great situation, man. It turned out to be a blessing. You look at things in duality sometimes, thinking that it's a blessing and a burden, and that burden sometimes is the blessing. So it was cool for me to go through it, and know what went down. And then to me, this is almost, when I'm looking at Michael's documentary, it's almost affirmation and confirmation that ideas that I thought was going down actually went down, because why wouldn't you even interview me in this whole thing? Why wouldn't you, even at the White House scene, they show BJ Armstrong shooting jump shots and they cut me out because I shot right after BJ. And I shot from 22 feet. And the president was tripping as I'm making 8 or 9 in a row. And hey, Barbara, come over here and look at this. So it's been eye-opening. And then I say, as a young brother from the project in Chicago Heights, who was never supposed to be on this stage in this realm, based on what you thought, but not based on what my little bitty dreams were as a little child, and not being deterred from being able to read, write, study, then get to Long Beach State, learn the game from the best, and then learn the best research method from some of the brightest minds on the planet of how to research, so that you can come up with own creative and imaginative ways to change the condition of people all over the planet, whether it be black, white, brown, yellow, or red, that where human rights are concerned, that's what you stand on. And where you're not standing on anything wavering. It's not a choice in that matter. This is where you are because you was blessed to be born under that. And, once again, I thank my family for it, brother.
How do you remember your time spent with Chicago Bulls? You've got 2 rings, of course.
Oh man, it's the highlight of my basketball life, brother. To be able to compete against perhaps the best player to ever play on the game, and I would go against Michael every day. So I tell people some of the stuff y'all seen on TV, I put that brother into that position to have to work on some of this stuff every day, whether he wants to admit it or not. But we played hard every day, and so we would have practices that we would be 15 minutes in the scrimmage and feel to stop it, because it was game intensity, and you want practice and scrimmage intensity, but game intensity is something that you can't always get it, and as a coach, you have to gauge when guys are going at. You want good high intense practices, but you don't want those practices to draw from what you're capable of doing tomorrow night, and that's the part that a coach has to gauge. And he would say, go home. And guys would try to hang around and play one. No, go home. You know what I mean? We try to hang around, shoot free throws. No, go home. You can shoot free throws and shoot around tomorrow. Go home. And it would be like, man, we'd be milling around like, little puppies trying to get in it. No, lock the gym down, go home. And that's the type of, and then it would be times when we would think that we did some hot shit. And he would say, no, we got practice tomorrow. In fact, we're going to be at 3.5 hours. And we'd be like, man, PJ, what's up? We just won by 25. No, you're supposed to win. But the way y'all won wasn't the way I like to see y'all play basketball. So we're going to come in there and we're going to get back to who we are as a team and a unit. And we're going to center ourselves, as Phil would call it. So that type of stuff, man, that the time in Chicago, and for me, being born and raised here, man, to be able to see the faces of Chicagoans, I've never known, but to see the joy that they got in supporting us, to know that all the senior citizens that supported us that are gone, but how much joy we gave them on a Tuesday night when everybody in the senior citizen building would have on their favorite Chicago Bulls t-shirt or jersey and hat. And they would tell us, when the Bulls game come on, baby, we don't miss a minute. And that, we don't know how big of support that really is for us who play the game.
Mm-hmm. And so you were well known for your three-point shooting ability, and you were one of the best shooter in the 90s, and twice you lead in the league in three-point shooting percentage. How many three-point shoots you had to have in each day to be in the good shooting shape?
You know, and the crazy part about it, brother, is that, like I said, I've came through college basketball, and when I played college basketball, I didn't have a three-point line. So I didn't have a three-point line in high school or college, but I shot the ball from 22, 23 feet anyway. So coming into the league, it wouldn't be a thing for me to have to look down at the line or worry about the line. And the line never became a psychological point for me. So I just shot the ball at distances. I could shoot the ball from the sideline all the way to out of bounds on both sides of the court, and you just square that off. So I was able to distance myself up to 25 feet and not have to really worry about the mechanics being different from a 15-foot jump shot. So it lent itself to becoming a good three-point shooter when I came into a league that provided a three-point shot. Had I had three-pointers in college, I probably would average almost 37 points a game. From what Tex told me, based on what he did analytically to look at where I shot the ball from and those three-point shots would have been. So it's one of those things for me that my uncle taught me how to shoot the ball when I was 6 years old or whatever. As I got older, they helped me refine the mechanics of it. And as you know, I love seeing the ball go through the basket, and I don't get bored with it. Nor am I an unpractical shooter. You know, I'm not, if I can shoot a 22-foot shot, I'm gonna shoot a 22-foot shot.
Mm-hmm.
I see some guys now who would pull up from 30 feet and you can get to 15 feet. Why? There's not a practical value on the game in that to me. And I think that's where the game has changed a lot through analytics. It's a positionless game now where guys who need not be shooting threes are shooting threes because if it goes in, it counts for more. Where you could be posting up and getting 2-point shots, almost point blank shots, and have a good percentage, have a good, ratio of scoring per possessions, that type of thing where it's gone from the game in a lot of ways. And I think a lot of it is that the teaching of the game has changed so dramatically.
Yes, the modern basketball is less physical and just focus more on shooting, three-point shooting. And do you think that your career could look much more different if you would born a bit later and be a player in nowadays?
It would be fun. It would be fun to play now compared to, we played under a much more physical, much more restrained, much more authoritarian-based coaching style. Now the game is more player control. The players have more freedom and access to how they want to play, who they want to play with, who is the man, who, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot more player involvement in how we're going to play compared to when we played, this is how you're going to play, and you're going to go and get with the program. Where now the players are the program, and which is cool. I'm not averse to it. I think it's just where we are in today's society and civilization. Social media plays a big role in professional sport. So the players understand their power that they have, and in some ways they're wielding their power, and they're wielding it for the way they see the game being, the way they want the game to be, and pushing ownership to the point of being able to create what they see in the game. So I don't have any bones to pick about that. I love the game of basketball I ever played, but I know that triangle style of playing the game is the best way to play because it involves everybody and it lends itself to us being a great defense team because everybody gets touches on the offensive end.
Mm-hmm. You've got your own three-peat because you won three-point contests in 1990, 1991, and 1992. And which from mentioned was the hardest to win?
First one. The first one, man. Like I said, you know, Bird had beat me so many times. He was in the competition again. Reggie Miller, all the top shooters in the league were in the competition that year. And, you know, I knew I could win, but you still have to go out and do it. And Cliff Levingston was a big part of that, my teammate, who was, you know, always in my ear about, you're going to do this. And oftentimes you need that support base, man. You need somebody that's seeing things that you're seeing, but they're knowing you're capable of doing. Cliff saw me shoot the ball. Cliff would get rebounds during games, man, and he would get a rebound and be point blank under the basket for his own bucket. And he would throw it out for me to shoot a three because he loved to watch my ball go in the basket. And he would be jumping up and down. And so all of that lent itself to helping me get over that hump of winning the three-point contest. And then, like I tell people about winning, once you win, it's a formula. And once you found out that formula, if you can stick to the formula, and my formula was in that competition was I got my mental to a game situational point. Other times that I lost, I went into it as a shooting competition. This time I went into it as a game. And all I have to do tonight is just shoot it. I don't have to play no D. I don't have to run back on defense. I don't have to chase Isaiah. I don't have to do none of that. All I have to do is take dead aim. And that was the formula for me that worked. And from that point forward, going the night before the competition, I carried it the same way I would if I was on a road trip. And put myself in that mindset. I didn't, you know, I had my family and friends around me, but I was insulated enough and let them know soon enough, this is how I'm gonna carry myself until after the competition. Now, once I'm done shooting, we're gonna party our asses off. But up until then, don't expect to hardly see me. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool, man.
How do you remember Larry Bird as a competitor? Was he like, I will kick your ass instead of hello?
Well, you know, Larry understood what he possessed, and Larry understood how to, you know, to win the mental battle, and understanding that the mental is not 90% of it, and that we got to perform 10%. So Larry tried to get to the mental right away, and oftentimes he could. He got to us the first competition, comes in, looks around the room, who's coming in second. You know what I'm saying? So those type of things, man, was he was able to talk it, but he was also able to back it up.
Mm-hmm. And did he also use trash talk during three-point contests?
Oh, absolutely. You know, and he would tell people who's gonna be good and who was gonna not be good. And, you know, but I would laugh at him because I knew what I was capable of doing. So it was great competition, man. I think perhaps those were the best three-point competition.
Mm-hmm. And in 1993, you participated in three-point contest, even that you were a free agent.
Right.
You lost only with Mark Price and Terry Porter. And
Right.
I guess that you have to be in really good shape if you were third in this competition.
Yeah. It was, and see, man, it was, and even that, it was, you know, I consider that a victory because I was able to keep it together. I'm gonna say keep it together because at that point in time, it was tough. I couldn't train like a professional. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't on a 94-foot court. I was at a high school gym. I didn't have the depth perception that you're gonna have in a 20,000 seat arena. I hadn't been in an arena environment, you know, for what, almost 8 or 9 months or something like that. So it was different experience, man. But it was cool. It was cool that just the same, but it was a certain energy that I felt,
Mm-hmm.
you know, being there that I know I was really not welcome, but I was just there. And to have that feeling from some place that you thought was loyal, a place that you've given loyalty to, that you've bought into the whole franchise of NBA from, you know, this is what I do. I'm part of this fraternity, and to feel like an outsider was eye opening. But once again, it was clarity and lessons learned, and a true understanding of this is their thing. You don't own this. This is their thing, and you're not a part of their thing. And feel comfortable with that and feel comfortable knowing that you're part of the fabric of those that have gone before you who sacrificed on a much heavier level than this basketball.
Mm-hmm. So like many NBA players, you went to Europe and played in Sweden, Turkey, and also Italy. From
No. I only played in one place.
uh-huh.
I played in Cantu, Italy.
Okay.
That's the only place I played. So I spoke with a brother from Turkey the other
Uh-huh.
day, and he was saying, and he was from Turkey, and he's saying, "Man, I don't recall you playing in Turkey." I see it on. I was like, "Because I didn't, brother.
I'm
I
really
didn't."
surprised because I find this information in the internet, and I thought quite international basketball
Yeah,
player.
yeah. And so and that's so when I saw that, I was like, "Man, I played in Sweden and Turkey. That would have been fun, I think." But no, I didn't, man. I only played in Cantu, and I played in Cantu from probably early end of September until right before Christmas. And I was
Mm-hmm.
coming back thinking I was going to be picked up by a team in the NBA, and it never materialized.
Mm-hmm. And you said that you thought that you will be picked by an NBA club, and do you've got some trainings with any NBA club, and there were chances to come back to NBA?
No, I had no one gave me opportunity to come in and show them what I was capable of doing. And when I was in Italy, I averaged almost 30 points a game. So it was one of those things where I could still play, man, but it wasn't so much, it wasn't anything about me playing. It was more so about, my political and spiritual beliefs on what's right, and not standing under something that I know is wrong at a point in my life when I don't have to. And
Mm-hmm.
one of those things where that was their game. They pushed me out of the game, didn't want to allow me to play again. So, and no bones about that. Life continues, and you have to make a way.
You came back to NBA, but as an assistant coach, and
Exactly.
you won to NBA championships with Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah.
Could you tell me us something about your cooperation with Phil Jackson? You met again, but this time in a different role.
Right. Once again, Phil came back, and he was going to bring Tex Winter back with him. And Tex, knowing what I had gone through previous years and not being able to get any traction in the league, he said he wouldn't come back unless Phil brought me in to help with the systems. And Phil said that he wanted to have a shooting coach for the first time. We never had a shooting coach when any other time. And he said he wanted to bring me in as the shooting coach. And it was a blessing for me, man. I got a chance to work with Kobe up close and personal. Lord rest him and his daughter Soul and all the others who lost their lives. Um, it was a great situation, man. I tell people that was one of the best jobs I've ever had in my life, man. To go to the best facility in the world, work with the greatest player in the game at the time, work with my colleagues, and be with Tex every day and talk basketball, and be in the California climate. When they went on road trips back east, I didn't have to go. I could stay out there and play golf. So it was great, man. I had a ball, man, and to have won championships again with that same group of guys, it was great, man. So like I said, man, basketball has been a blessing, and even to be able to talk to you now is based on my basketball. So I tell people I have basketball, we'll travel. So it'll take you all over the world.
Mm-hmm. And how do you remember your cooperation with Kobe Bryant and his effort to be the best player in the league?
Man, it was cool, man. I had a great relationship with Kobe. He understood the you know what I did in the game. He understood how my veteran seniority within the game, and he respected that. He respected the fact that I played with MJ, that I was on championship runs, on the first runs, and he picked my brain a lot about that. And we had a cool relationship. I was blessed to go to his next to last game and see him and take pictures and all of that. So I have some great memories, man. And him calling me 10 o'clock at night, telling me be at the gym at 6 in the morning, meeting him there and getting our work in, and that kind of stuff. So it's cool, man. It was a cool relationship, and one that was of mutual respect and admiration.
How do you remember Kobe as a leader of the team? Because there was a Kobe who played with the Shaquille O'Neal, and they both were orthodox of the team. And in 92-90-10, when the Lakers won the 2 consecutive NBA titles,
Right.
how looks Kobe as a leader?
Kobe was both a leader by example and in vocal leadership. He would be vocal when it was necessary. He would lead by example when necessary. And he understood which was which. And he studied enough to understand leadership skills and leadership qualities. So to me, he was just as driven as MJ, but to me, he was more empathetic to the shortcomings of players who aren't on that level of greatness, and to be able to, how can I bring them along to get them to that level of greatness of their standard? And I think that's the thing, is that there's a level of greatness in all of us, and it's not yours or mine. It's what it is, and and how do you galvanize everybody to be at their greatest level of play at the same time? And that's the beauty of life, not only the game, but life, man, and to be able to see them qualities in everybody. And if you can help someone get to their level of greatness, then you do that. And I saw that in Kobe.
Mm-hmm. And at the end, I would like to ask you a question from the category "What if?" Just imagine that you've got opportunity to organize the 3-point contest and choose 6 players. One, you've got Craig Hodges, and the other 5 from the whole NBA history.
Larry Bird, Steph Curry, Ray Allen, Reggie Miller, and I might have to throw in Jason Capono because he won a couple. It would probably be between Jason Capono and Mark Price. Just to, yeah.
Very good shooter.
Oh man, and see, man, this is the thing about shooting. On any given day, any of us could beat any of us, and that's the beauty of it.
Uh-huh.
During that period of time, I think I had the best stroke, man.
And when you look at the current NBA, which player looks like you? Is the most similar to you, your style?
It's hard to say, man, because I played a couple different ways. I played point guard early in my career. Then I was a second, played some 2 guard and just shooting guard. So it's tough to say, and I don't watch the game a lot to be able to put any one person. But I just say my favorite player in the league right now is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't
Very universal player.
Yeah, no question, man. Awesome dude, man. Good people.
Mm-hmm. Craig, it was my last question. So I would like to thank you very much for this interview, for the opportunity to talk about your NBA history of basketball.
It, man. I have a documentary and a feature film coming out, hopefully in later this year or early next year, based on when we can get out of this quarantine and get back to action. But I'll make sure that my son reaches out for you and we can communicate it again to you guys.
Sure, I will be very grateful. Thank you very much.
All right, man. All right, God bless everybody that's watching. Be peaceful and make sure you're drinking plenty of water.
Thank you very much.
Peace, man.